Welcome everybody to November's Scholars Spotlight. We've got a very special guest today. It's our chairman, Andy Cox. Hello, Andy. How are you?
Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm very good. I'm very good. He's just told me that he's not used to these early mornings. It's 8 a.m. as we speak, and the sun's just come up. But he's got 2 days off. You've got some racing this weekend, haven't you, Andy?
Yeah, I'm off to Utah races tomorrow for the beer festival race day. I've got a few friends coming up from North London way, Hertfordshire, pretty much. So we'll have a good time. Unfortunately, I'll miss the game tomorrow. I don't miss many, as you know.
No.
Yeah, that's the only disappointing side to it. But it's been planned in the diary for a few months now. And it's a regular event, so unfortunately, I won't be at the game. But I'll be following it
Right, okay.
closely, of course.
Well, we'll get on to the next couple of games coming up shortly.
Yeah.
First of all, apologies to everybody that does listen because the last podcast was the worst one in the history of podcasts. I got 3 bits of feedback. So it's Jack Langston before you. So you're not under any pressure at all because it was awful. The 3 bits of feedback I had, they're all anonymous. The first one was just who's stolen Jack's personality? Bit harsh. Second one, this is the worst podcast I've ever stayed awake through. And the final one, even Partridge couldn't save this. What is Langy mourning? They actually thought he was in mourning, right?
Did
So
he, did,
we've got
did
to
he show
liven
no
this up.
emotion? Did he?
Well, it was just dull. It was just dull, Andy. So hopefully this one's going to be better. So I thought to give everybody a bit of context, talk us through your role at the club. I mean, club secretary. It sounds an easy job, if I'm honest. What do you do day to day for the club?
Oh, I wish it was easy, mate. But obviously, you introduced me as the chairman earlier, and now you've
Oh,
corrected
I
it.
did well. That's an
But
even easier job,
that
apparently.
that's one of the jobs I actually haven't done. But
Right.
would I want it? Crikey, no way. Jonah's obviously welcome to that role, and before that, obviously Mick Joyner. So yeah, so secretary. So fortunately for me, I've got Terry Dando working alongside me, or with me. So what Terry does, just to separate the tasks that involve, Terry does the match arrangements uh, before the game, obviously dealing with the opposition, whether we're home or away. Um, just notifying them of the club colours without going into too much detail, and all the arrangements around the game, etc. Sorting out the gate lists, um, which I've sent to him, and that's about it. And I'm fortunate to have somebody else with me because that otherwise it'd fall on me. Now, obviously, what I do is I'm obviously responsible for the discipline side of things. Um, I've been up till 3 a.m. in the morning. Some nights writing a response back to the FA in favour of our side, trying to get put people's point of view across. So I deal with that. I deal with the rearrangement of matches, and obviously we've had quite a few recently due to our opposition being in the FA Cup earlier in the
Yeah.
season, and then now our FA Trophy run at the minute. Every time we win, um, another game has to be rearranged. So it's quite intense at this time of the season because
Yeah.
obviously from now till I think the 21st of December we're playing every Saturday and every Tuesday consistently, and that's how it stacks up sometimes. So without boring anybody about the rules, so if a game gets cancelled, within 7 days, you need to rearrange it, basically. And then the date you can put on the rearrangement, it has to be within 42 days. That's the rules. And that's
Right.
consistent across all teams. So that's not just for Chasetown. There's a little bit of wiggle room if push comes to shove, but, it does become heavily stacked sometimes, trying to fit things in.
Well, I think we've got 2 or 3 games in hand on most teams, haven't we, in the league at the minute?
Yeah, that's right. I think we played our 12th game on Tuesday night, just gone.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you're right.
so I'm secretary, so I should be right, shouldn't I? Really? So yeah, so I rearrange the games, deal with the discipline. Obviously, I take the heat off the administration heat off.
You were wrong. 14 games
Oh,
was that
14.
in the
Yeah,
league? Yeah.
I'm wrong then. Yeah, 14. So it goes so quick these days. I'm not quite sure where we are. So set the heat off Swanee and Jamie for admin, so registration of players. Terry does a bit with that as well. Early in the season. Any 7-day notices to respond to or put in. Um, Arranging visits from our scouts to other clubs to watch the opposition. And any other general stuff that nobody else can be bothered with. There's obviously at this level of the game now, it's getting um, more professional,
Yeah.
like it or not. There's more intensity around safeguarding and safety, and year on year, it's getting a bit more required. So, uh, for a volunteer, which I am, and having a full-time job as well, where I have to do 37 and a half hours, sometimes, it takes a bit of your time up, really. But I'm not
That,
complaining because it keeps
that
me
was
involved.
gonna. I think that was going to be one of my questions later, actually. So we'll do it now. There was
Okay.
one question about how you've got away with not being divorced, right? So, how many hours do you think you spend doing club stuff a week? I'd be very surprised if it was less than 20, if I'm honest, because you're always there.
Yeah, I mean, a typical week, I'll probably be at the club 2 or 3 times. Um, Whether that's a requirement or not, I'm just there around, primarily match days and obviously training nights on a Thursday. Sometimes, I mean, I do look forward these days to having a day off. Um,
Yeah,
so, it's few and far between, but yeah, you're probably not far away on that one. So, this week, I mean, I've to give just this week really. I had half a day off on Tuesday, because obviously the coach was going at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. So
yeah.
4 p.m. we left Chasetown. We went to Vauxhall Motors. We lost 2-0. Um, and then I actually got back in my car at the club at 12:38 a.m.
Jesus, yeah.
Okay, so and then Wednesday off. Last night I was at the club. I actually went to Darlaston Town first because we had a non-league strategy meeting,
Okay.
which clubs get invited to and that. So went through that. Then from there I went to the club, and then I was back at midnight this morning. Um, Today I've got a day off and a long weekend this weekend. I'm missing the football tomorrow, which doesn't happen very often. Well,
No, no, no.
sometimes I think you do need to step back a bit from it because it does become a bit intense, as you can imagine, trying to
Yeah,
keep up with everything.
yeah,
Um, and some people are good at admin, some people aren't. I'm
yeah.
not too bad because obviously the way it's gone in recent times, it's gone more IT related. So I've worked in IT since I was 17. So that's 40 years of IT. So it's not a new thing to me, and I can cope with it, as some people
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to. Um,
No.
but there are more demands coming on secretaries. It's one of the most. I'm not bullying myself up here, by the way, but it's one of the most important jobs, obviously, because if you get it wrong, as you saw last season or the season before, was it? If you get it
You
wrong,
get thrown out of the cup.
the consequences are are catastrophic, really, for everybody: supporters,
Yeah,
players, managers,
yeah,
chairman. You know, so
yeah.
yeah, 20 hours wouldn't be far of it, but I have to be careful because my employers might listen to this later on. But
But
obviously, in this
they're
modern
involved.
age, sorry, go
They're
on.
involved in football anyway, aren't they? They know the score, don't they?
Well, Rob Malaban does, yeah.
Yeah,
Give him a
yeah,
mention there.
yeah.
But yeah, it can be a bit intense, to be honest.
Okay, so you mentioned you very rarely miss a game,
I
especially a home
do
game.
very rarely miss a game.
But even the away games, you're at the majority, I would say. You're at kind of 99% of them. What's the best non-league ground you've been to or you enjoy going to?
What the, um, most of them really with a pub next door. The, I mean, in the league we're in at the minute, Bradford's not a bad place because
Yeah,
the Birdie Land pub is next door to the car park.
right.
Widnes, who play at the rugby league ground in Widnes, Widnes Warriors. Um,
Okay,
that's a bit soulless to be honest, but there is
okay.
an old-fashioned pub next door to the car park, and that's not bad.
So you're
Uh,
basing all of your favourite away grounds on pubs. All right, I got
well,
this. I got this.
it's meant to be a relaxing time. This is my hobby. Remember, I'm not
Yeah,
paid to go and
true,
watch. So yeah,
true.
so many people wouldn't know. Obviously, I arrange the coaches as well, as you know. Um,
Yeah,
get everybody on, and at Chasetown, apart from the players, everybody pays. So
yeah.
even the directors from the president down, we all pay to get on the coach the same as any normal supporter that's going. We all pay and contribute towards the coach fares, which obviously have risen as well. So
Yeah.
um, we yeah, so that's it really in this ground. But we've
Okay.
been in some good league grounds as well. Port Vale was one.
Yeah,
Cardiff
Vale's
City,
great.
Cardiff
Yeah.
City. We're part of the opening of that stadium many moons ago for safety reasons. We had a game and it was just one of the trial games, for the safety to get the safety certificate for it. So we had a friendly there.
I still think personally it might not be a popular view because they're not everybody's favourite, and a lot's gone on there. But I still think Hensford's grounds really, but when you go there, it's an impressive setup, isn't it?
Yeah, the pub's not. There's no pub next door though, is there?
Right, moving
Yeah,
on,
it is. I
Coxie.
mean, to be fair to Ensford, I did. I mean, I live closer to Ensford town than I do to Chasetown. Um, I actually played for Ensford as an under 18. I was captain of the under
Okay.
18 Grundlit side. We won the league, we won the League Cup, we won the double basically. We had a good side then. That was at the old Cross Keys ground, um,
Remember it
that,
well,
that
yeah.
many people would remember. Um, they moved to this new ground, which used to be a tip, I think, of some
Yeah.
sorts. But they've obviously been up to the top level of the non-league. I did go and watch them during those days. Um, I think they finished as high as fourth, fifth, or sixth in the few years they were there. Then obviously it's a lot easier in football to come down than it is to go up. And
Yeah.
obviously over the years they've come down, and they're probably fortunate last year not to get relegated because they were in the relegation zone, finishing second from bottom. But they had a reprieve, and good luck to them. I've got nothing against Ensford. They're Chasedown's local rivals. But obviously, the number of years I've been at Chasedown, I am Chasedown through and through, as you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So you're on the board as well. Um, what are your kind of so take away the kind of the holistic view of the board, your own personal aspirations for Chasetown. What would they be really if there was one big aspiration you had for the club? What would that be?
What would that be? Obviously, I see us a progressive club. Um, we do want to go to that next level, which is step three. Now we've spent 2 seasons at step three um, in our history, and that's the only two. Um, we've had some near misses, as you know, the Belpertown playoff final defeat. Um,
Great
but
season.
that's what we're working towards, getting up to the step three level. I think the league we're in at the minute at step four is going to help us a lot more than the jump up to step three. I think um, will be slightly easier to deal with.
Okay.
than it was before, because I think this is a strong league that we're in.
Yeah.
Step four, and there's some. It's every game's tough, whether you're playing the team at the bottom or the team at the top. You're gonna get a game of sorts. It's all
Yeah.
competitive stuff, and but it's not gonna be easy. So I
No.
mean, this season we really need to be in or around the playoffs. You
Which
know,
we are at the moment, aren't we?
we
We're
are
we're
at the
games in
minute, yeah,
hand. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I'd expect us, if we can get in the playoffs, I think we've had a good season and take our chance in the playoffs. I'm not saying we're going to win the league by any means, because I know how difficult it is, and there's a number of teams up there. I think Nantwich will be up there. I still think there's obviously a lot more to come from Ensford yet. They haven't really got going, have they, apart from in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
So we'll see how that journey goes with obviously a new manager coming in for them. Um, but our own aspirations, I would hope that we're in those playoff places come the end of the season, which of course is now over 42 games rather than 38. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I say, we've got a difficult. Every game's difficult, but a difficult run coming up because we're playing Saturday, Tuesday, all up
Good
until
away
December the
games.
20th. Yeah, well, I mean, to give you an example, if we win tomorrow, or should I say, when we win tomorrow,
I like that one.
being positive and all that.
Yeah.
I do know that the next round is on December the 7th, and at the minute we're down to play Widnes away, who I've already mentioned. So Widnes away will have to be on a Tuesday night, probably in January, which again makes it not as easy to get to for the
Yeah.
Saturday game. And
Yeah.
we'll see what the draw brings on Monday for the FA Trophy. But again, taking nothing away from Alvechurch tomorrow, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a close game. Maybe the best team win, really.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I've had a question here about a pub quiz, right? If you're getting together a crack team, right? A proper pub quiz and you want to win the thing, who are the two or three playing staff? So they could be on the management side, they could just be on the board, or they could even be the players. Who are the two or three that you're roping in who you think will get the odd question right?
Well, definitely, I could tell you who I definitely would have, and that would
Go
be I
on.
definitely wouldn't have Swanee, and I definitely wouldn't have Jamie, and I definitely wouldn't have Slater either because he just messes about. Uh,
No,
so we're
no,
talking
no
about a
good.
serious
No,
quiz now. So
as well. Slate's no good. No good in the wind. Apparently, yeah, it
no
doesn't like
good.
the wind.
Doesn't like the wind. Blows his hair about, does it? um, John Burt would be one because John Burt's a thinker. He's a
Yeah,
goalkeeper. Obviously, while the play's going on outfield, he's got more time to think, hasn't he? But
yeah, I
he
like that. I
and
like
he
that.
does. He do. The thing about John I like is he's been around the club, you know, pretty much under different managers as a goalkeeping coach, the same as me, really. And he's one of
Okay.
the more consistent fellas around there, and he does take it serious, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but he is a thinker, so I'd have him on there.
Okay.
Um, from
But
the
definitely
playing
not
side,
Swanee. To be clear, definitely not Swanee.
absolutely. The first ones to be crossing off my list would be Swanee and Jamie because just forget it, man. No, absolutely no. You'd have to pay me to put them on the team.
Well,
Um,
we have to do some football questions. They might be all right.
they might be, but they just mess about. I can't take Jamie seriously. I mean, the most serious thing he does is on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, he goes into game mode then. But the rest of the time, he's just buggering about, you know? You know what I mean?
Okay, well, let's move on. Let's move on. What about the modern game? So I'm not talking about our level, I'm talking about the professional game. What's the thing that kind of boils your blood when you see the modern game? Because it has changed a lot over the years.
People spending more time. Well, there's two things really. Players spending more time on the floor at the drop of a
Yeah,
hat.
yeah,
Uh, there is a saying that's come into the game, I crept in that, if you don't get down, you won't get the free kick or the penalty. But
yeah.
I mean, seriously, some of the things that knock these people over. I mean, honestly, and then the moment the player's been booked or spoken to by the ref, they get up off the floor, they're off, they're chasing it down, the ball down the wing, the next thing.
Yeah.
That just you just can't
It
have that. And
was.
then
I saw
VAR,
something. I
VAR,
saw.
man,
I saw something this week, and it's on your first point. I think it was the lad. Who's the lad at Real Madrid who didn't get the golden boot?
had at Real Madrid. Is it Vinicius, the winger? Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Did you see that one of him in the last week?
No, mate. I've not caught much football this week, to be honest.
Oh, he literally doesn't get touched in the box. He doesn't get touched, and he does this like comedy, big comedy fall and stays down for about 2 minutes. It's horrible, isn't it?
It's a joke, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's as much of a joke as VAR, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that does my head in now as well are the stats. We're just peppered with stats, aren't we? What's the stat they've got around your play and how that should equal to X number of goals? They call it X something, don't they?
XG,
Oh,
expected goals, yeah.
I
There's
mean, put that
expected
in the
goals
bin.
for, there's expected goals against.
You've
People are
got to put
making
that
a
in the
good
bin.
living out of this, you know what I mean? Seriously,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, the only stat that matters in a football match is the number of goals for and the number of goals against, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's always been
absolutely.
the case, and I don't think you'll change that. There'll be
No.
things that happen in between, but VAR as well. I'm not
Stick it
quite
in the
sure
bin.
about that. I mean, I was all for it. Don't get me wrong. Wanted it. I think ever since the Frank Lampard shot against Germany,
Germany, yeah.
I don't know if it was in the World Cup or the European Championships, when it hit the bar and went over the line. And I can still see my dad shouting at the television now, telling the referee that he wasn't very good, and getting really
Was that the language you used? Was it?
not quite now.
Okay. All right. We're going to come on to your family in a minute, actually. So on the playing days, obviously, I think you've got. Are you second in the all-time club appearances?
Yeah, 535 appearances for me. I think
What an effort!
that's the official number, and that was over probably 11 years or more, 11 or
Terrific
12
effort.
years. Yeah. Um, I mean, the nutshell is really I probably, well, as you know, I'm quite good at looking after myself, but perhaps it's only when you get older, and you can say this about a lot of things. It's only when you get older you think, well, perhaps I should have done a bit more and I could have played a bit longer because, when I was 28, really, I did my cruciate ligament in and it was never the same after that, although I did carry on playing to some degree, but not at the same level. But
Yeah.
I guess a bit like anything, you play 11 years on the bench, it becomes monotony then, doesn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think some people have got different appetites and they've got different. They can almost that monotony. If you look at somebody like Neville, for instance, he probably embraced that monotony. But some people just get bored. You're doing the same thing every week, day in, day out for 11 years is a long, long time.
Well, the
And I
thing
think,
is, you've got other things in your life as well, haven't you?
yeah, yeah.
Good
And a
and
cruise
good
ship.
and bad. You know.
And a cruise ship, when you're not getting professional care like they do now, and like you would, I think the treatments that you get at our club now are probably dramatically different to what they were, 25 years ago. You'd have probably recovered better.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember it now how it happened. I think it was pre-season, and I took 2 weeks to go to Portugal. Um, was in Portugal soaking up the sun, and obviously uh, enjoying myself, and then coming back, and then pretty much probably had one training session, then went into a friendly game, and literally the ball just bounced, and I went to flick it up over the top. It's not even a tackle, and then I've planted my foot down on the ground, and as soon as it went. Honestly, I've never known agony like it. Seriously,
Oh,
and then basically it was a partial tear of my anterior cruciate ligament, not a full tear, but I ended up having an operation for it. But every time you get a twinge in that knee, um, after that, you start thinking the worst case scenario. So fair play to these players these days that do have serious injuries and come back from it.
There's always somebody every year that seems to have a Cruise shirt, and they are just horrible, aren't they? I mean, I'm a Villa fan as well as Chasetown, and we had three last year, three Cruise shirts.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Aaron Ashford. I mean, blast from the past, so to speak. It was good to catch up with him the other week. He came out with the
Yeah,
lads. But I mean, if he's got any air left, he must be tearing it out because I mean that lad has gone through the mill. He's had two or three injuries, one after the other, and pretty serious ones as well. You
yeah,
know, I wouldn't. You know, if I was him, I'd have probably thought, let's let's go and play park stuff, you know, now and take it easy
yeah,
because you know
yeah.
he's not kicked a competitive ball for a long time. I say it's a shame, really. But this is,
No, it's that.
I mean, people go on about the money that's earned from footballers these days, you know, both professionally and semi-professionally. Um, but it could be over at the just at the flick of a switch, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And obviously
absolutely.
everybody's got jobs as well, so and families, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go on. Let's go back to your kind of playing days again. What was your biggest kind of playing achievement? Would you say?
Probably scoring 34 goals from fullback. Um,
Impressive.
you know, I was described as the old day wing back. I bloody
Yeah,
We had a manager come in and he tried to change the formation from 4-4-2 to 5-3-2, as you call it these days, with me as a wing back. I absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated it.
well,
Yes,
because
you
you've got
could
to
get
get up
first.
and down, haven't you?
Well, yeah, but all I used to do was run up and down all day, and nobody would hardly give me the ball. What a waste of time that was.
All right. I
So
thought you were going to say cover.
I was better coming from deeper. Um, got old Johnny Rose in front of me who said that he didn't score enough. His words were, I didn't score enough goals for Chasetown during my games because I was too busy covering for you." That's his official line. Now at one game at Chasetown, I scored a hat trick from fullback um, in a cup game. I think there was a might have been one, maybe two penalties in that, but I did score a hat trick. So that's my pride and joy really. But you
No,
know,
superb.
one of the best goals I scored actually was an own goal. Now I can remember
Go
it
on.
seriously, an own goal. So I'm right full back and I'm running back towards my own goal. I'm on the edge of the penalty box and they've got the ball down the other wing and somebody whips it across and it curls out towards the edge of the box. And I'm obviously facing my own goal. So I caught this ball on the half volley. I'm trying to kick it out for a corner, right? That was my theory. I've caught this half volley as sweet as a nut, right? And it's actually swerved into the top corner past our goalkeeper who never moved an inch. He just one of them. He looked back. And his words to me were, "Bloody hell, Coxie, what have you done that for?" You know. And the game, it took us till probably the 87th minute to equalise that game. We drew one each in the end. I think we played Alzo in Arias, but
Right.
that was one of my best goals. Was an own
Absolutely
goal.
sink you.
Of
Sink you.
course, it's sweet
So
as enough.
we're staying with the old days. I had a message from Scott Phillips. You used to play with Scott, didn't you?
Yeah, I used to play with Scott. Yeah, little midfielder, about 2'2". Yeah,
Yeah.
and
No,
it,
he reckons he was a baller. Was he any good?
I'd say he was average to be honest.
Yeah,
Well,
that does not surprise me.
his dad Barry used to run the side with another guy called Dave Bryant. Um, they were good days. You know, I mean, under 11s, Hammerwich, all the way to 16s. So yeah, played with Scott, some good players, and you just think, well, you know, you always think these players perhaps could have done a bit more. Rob Rogers was one, very talented left-footed midfielder, very good. Um, but you know, it was me that sort of went to Chasetown at 16, nearly 17, and started playing when they moved down to the ground they're at now, Chasetown, and
Yeah,
had a year in the reserves, and then I made my debut when I think it was actually on my 18th birthday. I'm sure it was. And
brilliant.
I know we played Tipton Town away, at the old Tipton ground with the running track round it. And I know Steve Bull was on the bench for Tipton that day, and it's actually
Oh
in
wow.
it's in his book, the team, and he
Okay.
was actually on the bench for Tipton the day I made my debut for Chasetown as a first
Brilliant.
team player.
Because you're a Wolves fan, of course, as well, right?
Well, yes, I would you call me a fan? I'm a follower of Wolves because
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Chasetown, as you know. So I
Yeah.
don't get to many Wolves games, but it's the first score I look for. Um,
Well, that mediocre footballer you talked about, Scott Phillips. We miss his dad dearly, by the way. I knew
yeah,
Barry very well. Top man, top
yeah,
man. But Scott's memory was of a man in your life, basically, and the men in your life are quite volatile, right? As we've seen. So your dad goes to every home game, and Scott recalled a game. It was a top of the table clash for Hammerwich versus Romulus. Do you remember what he's going to say or what
I
he's
think I
going to
do.
talk
Yeah,
about?
I think I do.
Okay, he remembers your granddad getting so wound up on the sidelines that the referee, and Scott said that the ground had a massive fence, right?
Yeah, it's
So
had a
your
steel fence round it. Yeah,
so your granddad was getting so wound up abusing this referee that eventually he got sent off.
yeah.
So he ends up behind the gate, right? And even behind the gate, Scott said he was on the field and he could still hear your granddad going, "You can send me off, but I'm still here."
Yeah, bless him. Yeah. So it's a generation thing, I think, and that, obviously each generation you lose that. I think you lose that tensionness. So started with my granddad, and he was he was something special, in all kinds of ways. And then my dad was the next step down, and then I'm not quite sure what happened to me and my brother because I describe us as both placid people. So
Yeah, I think you're pretty placid.
I
Yeah.
think it's been lost, but yes, they did. Even at I think we're talking about an under 11, under 10 game. Yeah, he did get sent off. The referee made him go outside the gate and watch the remainder of the game through a steel fence with holes in. Yeah, your proper
Yeah,
fence.
brilliant.
Unbelievable, Jeff.
I still see a little bit of that red mist in your sister though sometimes behind the bar. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
it.
yeah. I miss my sister. Bless her, haven't I? My, my sister has got the same traits as my dad. So uh, it passed me and my brother by, but my sister's got that element in her, and like a
Yeah,
bottle of pop, she can go
like a
sometimes.
mild rage.
Now, when you get the pair of them together, my dad and my sister, man, you're in for a fun. It'll be one of the funniest days of your life, seeing them pair go at it. But about all sorts of things.
So you talked about your normal life. So you're in the digital sector. So I thought it'd be interesting. So I put into Chat GPT life's biggest questions, right? And it fired three out for me, so we can have some feedback from you. So what does it mean to live a good life?
What does it mean to live a good life? I think, um, you know, having the things that you're comfortable with around you, but obviously you can't beat happiness, can you? Money is nothing without happiness because you can have all the money in the world and you just be a loner. But I think having a good family around you and that, good people, good friends, um, being able to do what you want when you want, without thinking too much about how much it costs, etc. Now
Yeah,
I should know, shouldn't I, having twins and both of them at university at the same time? You can
you have a
imagine,
good
can't you?
life. You
I
have a
would
good life.
recommend you don't have twins, to be honest. Although they've been brilliant, really.
Well,
Because
obviously
obviously
I've
they're
got.
learning to drive at the same time. They're both at university at the same time. You can imagine, can't you?
Yeah, well, I've got no kids, as you know, and a lot of my friends think I might be a eunuch, so that not a problem that
Is there any reason
I
for that you haven't got kids?
um. This is a bit. It's not about me today. It's about you. It's about you. Nobody wanted to have them with me, I reckon. So the final what? Are we alone in the universe? What do you reckon?
are we alone in the universe? I'd say no. I don't think we
Okay,
are. I think
okay.
I think there are beings about somewhere.
What happens when we die?
I don't know. I don't know. How am I
I
supposed to answer that one? You know,
thought you might have some insight. Okay, last few football ones, and then we'll clear off because I know you got the day off today. Best player you ever played with?
best player I ever played with. Um, I think I've already mentioned him. Really, probably Rob Rogers, and that's
Okay.
going back to junior football. Um, he did come into the semi-pro game. Um, he was at Chasetown, but it didn't really happen for him, and he sort of drifted a bit. So we did probably see the best of him in adult football. The best of his time was in junior football, but he had a wonderful left foot, and he did, you know, he was a good kid really. He comes down and watches now, bless him. But he
Yeah.
was a good player. I mean,
Okay.
there's been good players I haven't played with. Um, so Reece Stites was probably, I would say, was probably the best player I've seen at Chasetown in my time there, either as a player or as a off the pitch. Reece Stites. He went on to play for, I think he played a few games for Gibraltar, hasn't he? I think.
Okay. Okay. And what about the best player you've ever seen live, full stop? So in the professional game?
Um, I went to see England play Brazil at Wembley. Gascoigne, I think, was involved. Um, so yeah, I'd have to say Paul Gazza for that, really,
Okay.
to be honest.
That's
You know,
good
for all
call.
sorts of reasons, because it wasn't just about the football with him, was it? There's a bit of me like that, you know. It's yes, it's serious at times, but you know, you can have that non-serious side to it as well. You know, that which is
Yeah.
what it's all about at the end of the day. Because when you look back on the games and that, and you need to have a bit of fun as well to keep you going, don't you, Reuben? You
Yeah.
know that
I mean,
yourself. 'Cause,
there was so many stories about Gaza, wasn't there? You know.
I mean, that one about the dentist chair when they was it before the World Cup and then the
Yeah.
celebration
What?
against Scotland? I mean, that'll
Yeah.
live with me. I also remember something not so good about Gaza, that tackle in the FA Cup final at Forest. I think he just lost. He just lost. He lost it for a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I remember one of the funniest. There was many funny ones. I remember when he stitched. Somebody had had a new BMW. I think he was at Newcastle at the time, and they were taking the Mickey out of him one day or whatever. So he stitched. He caught. He was a big fisherman, so he stitched a trout into their spare tire in the boot. And basically, they had to get rid of the car. They just couldn't fight. It was just absolutely stunk to high heaven. And he was always up to. I've heard about him stealing buses and all sorts.
Yes, I've heard those stories as well, as you know. But yeah, it's when you get older though, it does annoy you. Things like that. Some of our players are up to it, hiding things and that sometimes for a bit of a laugh and a joke. And there's me ranting and raving. Bloody hell.
There was a question about have you found a key yet? But I didn't know. Have you found your car key
Yeah,
yet or
so
something?
basically, we Tuesday night we went to Vauxhall Motors, as you know. We come back and we always pick up at Junction 15 Holiday Inn and the M6 and A5 Ego. So Joe Dunn gets on the coach at the Holiday Inn. He drives up to we go up to Vauxhall. We play the game. Um, I don't think Joe came on. He was on the bench. He gets off the coach coming back the other way. Um, he goes off into the distance, and we jump off in the coach, and we're off towards Kellick and that. And then literally like a day or so later, I find out that he couldn't find his key to start his car. You know, it's gone missing. Um, and it still hasn't been found now. Despite ringing the coach company, who are pretty good to be fair. Robinsons, they can't find it on the coach, even stuck down the street. They've checked everything,
Oh,
spoken to the
right.
driver. Vauxhall Motors
Oh,
haven't found it, so he had to have a lift home off one of the other players who got dropped off,
yeah.
and then he went home, and then the next day he got his spare key, and went back to get his car, which fortunately for him was still there.
Jeez,
But
jeez.
I don't know
Okay,
what he's
well,
done with this key, to be honest.
Coxie, we've had 40 minutes, so the last one, favourite Chasetown memory for you?
Favourite Chasetown memory. The one that sticks it. There's been quite a few, obviously, over time. But that FA Cup run where we ended up playing Cardiff at home. I think
How
one of
old?
the
How old would you have been when that was going on?
2008. So yeah,
Okay,
2008. So 16 years ago, I think it was, wasn't it?
right,
So I'd have been about 41, 40,
right.
41. Yeah. So yeah, the team Bath trip. We went to Team Bath, who were, you know, university side, backed by the university. They were, on a high really in their league. We went there and won 2-0. What that is the best away day ever. In
Right.
terms of the only disappointment for me is I was booked to go to a bloody um, celebration on the night time at Birtwood Rugby Club. So I had to drive. Me and my brother went there. We had a great time. It was one of the best games. If I'd have been on the coach, it would have been even better. But it was such a from the start to the finish. It was a good day. One of the best away days, the best one I think. Even
Yeah.
topped the Port Vale trip on the Sunday. Um, so the other story about Port Vale is when we scored at Port Vale and we drew 1-1 and then won and beat them at Chasetown. We equalised just before half time, but I missed the goal because I was at the back of the stand ordering a hot dog. Um,
Why am I
could only
not
happen,
surprised?
could only happen to me, but there you go. One of those stories.
Coxie, thanks for your time today, mate. And I think from everybody at the club, thanks for the time that you put in. You know, it doesn't go unnoticed. I know everybody's part of the japes and we get into you quite a bit, but it's really appreciated, mate. I think what's happening at Chasetown, it's a community project. And we're really going to see the benefits of what we're doing, in particular with the kids coming through the club as well. So you're part of that special work, mate, and we really appreciate it. So, thanks everybody for listening. The next podcast we're going to do is going to be in December, and hopefully, is going to involve Christmas jumpers. So, cheers, Coxie. Have a great weekend off, mate, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, mate. Up the scholars. All right.
Up the scholars. Top
Cheers,
man.
pal. Ta-ra, mate.